So this is the video that you're going to watch to help you complete your notes. I want to start by pointing out that I am going to show you a link to kind of a study guide on how to do sketch notes or doodle notes, but honestly this is something you can look at on your own time. It gives you some good ideas about how we are going to be doing some sketch noting or doodle noting in class and some ways to do it. So this right here is the document that you're going to be using, and I want to start off by saying that this is not about being artistic. It's not about how well you draw. I think you all know that I am definitely not an expert at art and drawing. This is more about taking information and putting it in a way that's going to help us remember and retain it and make sense of it. And this is definitely a way that we can do that. So for these notes, I want you to first kind of feel free to make this as colorful as you would like to or not, and use Notability to help you in that. You're also going to have the option to do this on paper and pencil and use color pencils or markers. But for today, we're going to kind of see how doodle noting works with Cornell notes. And so our essential question is, how can we take Cornell doodle notes on any topic? And so you can feel free to follow along as we go. So with this, we have a left column and we have a right column. And on the narrow left column, this is where we're going to have our topic questions. And so our first question is, what are Cornell doodle notes? And so in our wide right column, this is where we're going to take our notes. This is a note-taking format that combines two effective note-taking strategies. And Cornell notes, we've done these a little bit in class before. They're a structured way to organize information from a lecture or a reading. And doodle notes are visual connections and cues to activate the right hemisphere of the brain while increasing long-term retention of content. So this is where I was saying that this is going to be helpful for us. So we're going to use visual connections and we're going to activate the right hemisphere of our brain, and that is going to help us with long-term retention. That's kind of the goal here. And so the do part of this, where we see that right here, the do part, in and around the left side of the brain, we're going to write and doodle words that are right here, the logic, numbers, sequencing, reasoning, analyzing, and details. And on the right side of the brain, we're going to write those other words. So this is where we're going to kind of take a moment. You might want to pause it here, and you can go ahead and go in, and you're going to take the time, and you're going to zoom into this brain, and this is where you're going to write those words that I've highlighted down there. And so specifically, you're going to be looking at these words right here. So highlight those again, and you're going to put those into the left and the right side of the brain. So for instance, right here, I might write the word logic. That's my one side of the brain. And on the other side, I might write the word visual. And you're going to do that with all of those different words. So we're going to go now to our second question, which is, what is the format of our doodle notes? And so Cornell notes, they have a big, clear title, and they have a narrow left-hand column that's about 3 fingers in width, and it's used to write the topic questions, the key ideas, and vocabulary words. It has a wide right column used to write details to answer the topic questions, draw analogies, make connections, and doodle with relevant pictures. And so the bottom part has a summary section used to summarize the main ideas of the lesson or to write a takeaway from the learning in one's own words. And so here we're going to also see another do part. You're going to label the picture right here with the 4 main parts of the Cornell notes. So we'll start with the first part. This is our narrow part. This is where we have our main ideas and our wide notes. And then right here, that's going to be our summarize portion. So the third question that we have here is, what are characteristics of good notes? And so we're going to take a moment and we're going to talk about, for question 3, what are some good characteristics? So good notes have the following characteristics. They're organized, so we use outlines, we can use bullets, we can use sectioning. We also paraphrase things, so we can write them in your own words. When possible, we can abbreviate. I know I say in class a lot, let's keep it short, sweet, to the point. So we can use abbreviations for common words. To keep our notes concise, that means short. And so, for instance, the with would look like that. Without, we could use that abbreviation. That stands for between. And that hashtag is just another symbol for number. We want to pay attention to teacher cues, so sometimes we'll be doing this as a whole class. So, for instance, the volume of voice. If there's pauses. If there's phrases like the point is, or remember this. And we want to skip lines between ideas and leave room for doodles. And so with this also, I want you to know that I don't really want you to type these. Research shows that it works better if you actually handwrite the notes that you're trying to take, and feel free to leave some white space. And again, this is not about your artistic ability. It's about taking the information and putting it in a way that helps us remember and retain it. So continuing on, so part of the same question that we're looking at right here is, what are some good characteristics of good notes? So to go along with that, we can use arrows. These arrows connect ideas and they look at the details. We can use circles. We can underline and use stars. This will help us kind of point out the important words and concepts. We can use color and highlighting. You can use any of these colors up here and Notability to help you with that. We can make the big ideas pop out. So if there's something that seems important, make it bigger. Visually show that importance there. And doodling. We can take academic doodling to the next level. And with that, we can draw pictures to represent analogies. And by representing analogies, we're using visual processes to connect our prior knowledge to new learning. So for instance, drawing table salt or drawing a frog or dominoes, any of these pictures that we have kind of helps us make sense of what we're talking about in class. So question number 4, how can you use Cornell Doodle notes to help you learn? Because that's kind of the whole point. It's not about just being creative. and making stuff look cool. So we have active reading and active listening. So as you read a passage or listen to a teacher explain something, write down the details in the right-hand column. Try to keep big concepts separated with white space or horizontal lines. Use the ideas on these notes to connect and highlight the most important words and concepts from the reading or lecture. Review what you've learned and what you've written in this section, and write a topic question that a learner might ask about the concepts in that section. Finally, review your notes and write a summary in your own words of what the big ideas from the lesson or the reading are. So what I want you to do now is I would like for you to come in and think about what we just talked about, what I just went over with these notes, and to write just like a one-sentence summary about what you learned from this short presentation that kind of summarizes what we talked about. And so also to point out, as if this were a class and you were sitting and listening to me talk through this, would it be okay for you to color some of this stuff in and make it look pretty or draw your own little picture? Absolutely. That's kind of the point. So I know in other classes, maybe throughout your time as a student, you've gotten in trouble for coloring in class or doodling in class. Whenever we're doing this kind of stuff, I want you to take the opportunity to kind of let your brain go there and let your brain think about what you're looking at and what you're seeing, and add the doodles that go with what we're talking about in class. All right, so we're going to continue to do this. Refer back to these notes because it kind of tells you what we're doing. And be creative. Make it look fun and exciting. All right,